Hey guys, and welcome to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report presented by Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection with eXp Realty. The first podcast to bring you the local inshore, offshore, and onshore fishing report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. I am your host, Butch Theory, here again this week, and before we jump into the reports, we've got a really cool opportunity for you. We have partnered with AFTCO, and they are offering all of our listeners 10% off AFTCO products. All you have to do to get your 10% off is text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Again, just text the word fishing to 314-665-1767. Subscribe to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, guys, we have a great Alabama saltwater fishing report lined up for you this week. But first, let's take a few minutes to check out a few of this week's great sponsors. This week's Alabama saltwater fishing report is brought to you by Sportsman's Marine. Sportsman's Marine has an extensive tackle selection of anything that local anglers need for saltwater and freshwater fishing, as well as boating accessories. They have the largest selection of the slick lure in Mobile and Baldwin County. They have AFTCO, Pelagic, and Saltwater Fanatics apparel along with other local brands. Go check out their Edgewater, Wellcraft, and Vexus lines of boats. They offer engine services with 5-star Yamaha and Mercury mechanics. Also, if you're looking for a street legal electric golf cart, go check out their Atric golf carts. Sportsman's Marine on Highway 98, and they also have a downtown location next to Mr. Jean's Beans in Fairhope, Alabama. And also brought to you by Boaters List. Boaters List is your new reliable and fast resource designed to link everyone to everything on the water. If you own or run a boat, you know how difficult it can be to find the right company for the task at hand. Boaters List makes it easy to find the service that you are looking for. Locate anything from fuel docks to service repairs or rentals of large yachts, even down to paddle boards and all things in between. BoatersList.com will always strive to make it better on the water. And also, Bahio Sunglasses. Want to catch more fish? Experience the clearest lenses on the planet with Bahio sunglasses. Because you'll see more, you'll catch more. It's as simple as that. Try on a pair at your local retailer or check out BahioSunglasses.com to witness the magic for yourself. Bahio is an independent, sustainable, carbon-neutral sunglass company based in New Smyrna Beach, Florida. Experience the clearest lenses on the planet with Bahio sunglasses. Try on a pair at your local retailer or check out BahioSunglasses.com to see for yourself. All right, guys and gals, welcome back to the Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report. I am your host, Butch Theory. I'm joined today with Angelo DePaola, the Coastal Connection, as my co-host. What'd you say, Cap?
Man, I'm just trying to stay a little cool.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to complain about the heat because I don't like the cold.
See, I'm the opposite.
It rained every day, and I thought, this sucks. This year, it is like, at like 7:30 at night, it's still in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
It's special right now.
It is for sure, and it's dry. It's been dry.
Yeah.
My yard's struggling. Been having to water every night. That's a pain, but you know what? It ain't that bad. We could be complaining about way worse things.
Oh, dude, let me tell you, it could be way worse. This is we are blessed beyond belief.
Yeah, we got some good weather coming up this weekend. It's supposed to be beautiful, man. I might try out and try and get out and get a snapper on Friday on the bay boat. So that'd be fun.
Cool. Go get a snapper on the bay boat and then come pick me up and we'll go tarpon fishing.
Yeah, that sounds like that's on fire. I'm looking forward to talking to Chris Vecsey about that here in a minute. We'll see if he'll release that information.
We know what I love about this show is like most of the guys I feel like give you all the ingredients to the recipe, right? Like yep. You ever go to somebody and you have this meal and they're like, man, this is just excellent. You mind giving me the recipe? And they give you everything. You write it down. They tell you exactly how to do it. You go cook it. You're like, something missing.
Doesn't taste the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Like somebody left something out. I can tell that.
That's right.
Because it happens, right? And it happens in the fishing world too.
Oh,
but yeah. I feel like, and we get to have the conversation before they get on. Nobody is ever like, hey, man.
Right. Keep that on the low down. I agree with you.
But I don't want to tell you this one thing that made all the difference in the world.
No, we have some very generous guys that are willing to share their knowledge, and that's always very helpful, especially for a fisherman like me trying to figure out multiple things at one time.
I know.
Tarpon being one of them.
Look, that's the cool thing about fishing is, like, I feel like in my fishing, I don't want to say career because I never gotten paid to do it. Really. Experience. Like, it's nice because you can go figure out something. Like there was a period in my life where I was like super dialed in on swordfish, like that's all I did. And then I got pretty good at it, and I kind of lost a little interest in it. Now I'm like super like wanting to understand the tarpon.
Yep.
I'm not great at it. I'm better than I was, but like that figuring out of how to go catch something and get very proficient in it.
And then whenever you can replicate on that on your boat, it's a big thing.
Dude, I love it. I got to think the guys that listen to this show, like that's how they are. And that's how me and you are. It's like, cool. We're all going on this journey together.
Yep. Agreed, man. That is one very cool thing about it. I was over on Joe's part of the world, Northwest Florida. The wife and I got to get over to Destin this weekend. Man, it was beautiful over there. Water was beautiful. There was a bunch of tower boats out, and I saw some cobia being caught. So fishing's definitely heating up. There's been a ton of ling caught over here. Looking forward to talking to our guys for sure this week. Speaking of Destin, over that way, your way, man. So many people. Goodness gracious, there was a ton of people in Destin. I guess it's just that time of year. I like my little quiet time over here around Dauphin Island. But what's going on over there in Orange Beach, man? You seeing anything as far as real estate goes? I know, there's a lot of different things being thrown around right now about recession and things like that. But what are you guys seeing? What's going on over there?
Well, I would say this. The market, in my opinion, crested 6 to 8 weeks ago. Like you could tell that it was a few weeks before that, maybe a few months before that, you could kind of start seeing what people in my industry would call beginning of the end, kind of like things happening, people getting into the market that like, you're like, I'm not sure if you should be doing this kind of situation. So, but the market still keeps moving along quickly in a positive direction, at least if you're a seller. The prices kept on rising. Well, we're like on the backside of that. So in the conversation with people now, and look, the only thing we ever sell, whether you're insurance or money managers, or anything that has to do with finances, is fear and greed. And fear is a lot better motivational factor than greed is. So like we're switching back to a buyer's market. And depending on what your situation is, if you have a lot of cash, you're going to pay cash. And I mean, I've been telling my people, like, let's wait a minute and see how some things shake out.
Right.
If you have to buy something and you need to go get a mortgage, man, like we should have done something 2 months ago, but let's not wait any longer because interest rates are going to go up. We saw 0.75. We're going to see another jump, and they're going to continue to do this until we get inflation under control. It all causes for uncertainty in the market, which also trickles down to real estate market. With that being said, I guess the best scenario I could give somebody of what's going on in the market, I'll just use Orange Beach for an example because we track it really closely, is that 2 weeks ago, there was 41 days of inventory in the market. Last week, there was 52 days of inventory in the market. And this week, there was 67 days of inventory in the market. So obviously, and before that, it's been climbing pretty steadily. But obviously, as you get more inventory, you're going to have downward pressures on pricing. So if you're a seller, what you really need to do is get ahead of that curve, make it seem like a good deal now to sell it quickly. Look, if you're up 40% and somebody like me can let you capture, hardly anybody's going to capture the whole 40% gain you've had the 2 years. So if we can capture 30 to 38% of that gain, that's still
a pretty big win.
It's a home run, dude.
Yeah.
It's a big win. So but everybody's situation is different. Do you use it as investment? Is it a second home? Is it your primary? It's a great time to be horse trading as opposed to selling as it's climbing. It's nicer in buying something else where the next thing you buy costs more. That's almost a downward to lateral move. Now you can sell, stay out of the market for a minute, especially if you're going to do a 1031, you've got 45 days, and then climb back into it. So you're going to get more bang for your buck. And those are the kind of conversations we have. Do I know where the market's going to go, how low we're going to go? No, my guess is everybody's going to lose 10, 15% of the value in their home, maybe a little less, maybe a little more, depending on where you're at. But considering we're up 20% in 2 years in a row, not a bad place to be. I don't know how fast we get there, but we're going to get there. And It's the market, man. You can't time it. If you're ready to buy, go buy. If you're not, hold off. The right deal will come along. If you're a seller and you've been thinking about selling, get off the fence is what I would tell you. And if you want to get deep into it with me, go to my website. It's easy, thecoastalconnection.com. You can reach out to me through there. That way you don't have to remember a phone number or anything. And we can go take a deep dive into your situation. But it's all situational.
Perfect, man. I appreciate you always updating our listeners. I get comments on it all the time. People enjoying your real estate segments. I do think that's great advice about, if you're up, 35 or 40%, don't try and be too greedy and get, all of that squeeze out right now. Just go ahead and sell that thing and be done with it.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we did. We sold a lot of our rental properties. I think me and you talked about it. You sold all yours. So, I mean, all real estate is a leveraged investment. Yep. You put 20% down, the property goes up 5%, or you're up 20% on your investment. Yep. Man, that's a great way to make money.
Absolutely agree, man. Well, we appreciate it. Let's get into these fishing reports, man. Let's go see what Chris Vecsey over at Sam's Bait and Tackle's up to. All right, Chris, welcome back to the show, man. Tell us a fish story. What you been up to?
First of all, I'm melting.
We were just talking about the heat. It's thick out there, man, for sure.
Man, I just unloaded one of our trucks back here at the shop, and it's oppressive out there. It's brutal. But there's good things that come with that heat. You know what I mean? So I'll take it. I'll deal with it.
Yep, absolutely. Hank Shaw always calls it the wet blanket of hate down here because it's so hot.
That's about right.
It is about right. Yeah. Well, what you been doing, man? I know you've been doing a little bit of everything. Just kind of walk us through your last couple of trips.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of the last week. I've been all over the place last week. I fished from Destin. I went down to Crystal River yesterday, but I didn't actually get to do any fishing. But last week out of here, I went offshore one day, did some vertical jigging, did a couple beach fishing excursions, and went off the beach and looked for those big silver things because they're starting to show up decently. So very nice. Well, let's start offshore. Tell us a little bit about jigging. Yeah. So jig bite was, we're coming off that full moon last week. So, I was actually fishing with Adam Peoples, and we kind of figured that the bite would start a little later. A lot of time on that full moon bite, you get out there early morning, their feeding patterns all messed up. They get that big spotlight in the sky that's kind of giving them a little bit of advantage through the evening. They do feed through the evening, obviously a lot more. And true to form, I don't think we had a single bite hardly until like almost 10 o'clock and, late in the morning. And once we got closer to noon, it was like a jig couldn't hit bottom without getting eaten by something. I want to say we caught like 16 different species of fish. We caught gag grouper, scamp, red grouper, caught red snapper, vermilion snapper, lane snapper, mangrove snapper. I got, and this is all just doing the slow pitch jigging. I think I had two really nice mangroves. I had one that was probably, between 8 and 9 pounds. We had, we just had a good mixed bag. It was a pretty fun day, but just dealing with the heat, of course, was tough, but we made it work. What's your ideal slow pitch setup, or what were you using as far as rod, reel, line, jig? Man, we had a hodgepodge. So I like tinkering. Anybody that's fished with me knows I like tinkering with a lot of different tackle. Maybe that's just the tackle salesman in me too. It's like right. I'll use something for like a little while, and then it doesn't matter if I like it or not, I'll sell it, and then I'll get something else and use it for a little while. And by doing that, you get a lot of experience with so much different gear. But I don't know, I had 3 setups with me the other day. I had a spinning setup from Daiwa Saltist on a Harrier jigging outfit. I had a Penn Fathom 10 on a Penn Battalion slow pitch outfit. And then I had what's actually my favorite out of my personal slow pitch rigs is a reel made by a company called Maxell. It's called the Hybrid. So it's it looks like a basic conventional reel, narrow frame on it, so it bounces nice, but it's got a thumb bar clutch, kind of like a bait caster. And it's a star drag reel. As soon as you turn the handle, it re-engages. So you never have to kind of disengage while you're fishing. You're palming the reel. You come up off the bottom a little bit. All you do is just snap your thumb down, let some line out. You're back on bottom, start reeling again, and you're back in the action. But I got that one on a Star Plasma slow pitch, and I would say that outfit is hands down my favorite. I've got 30-pound braid on that one and on that Penn, and then I have 20-pound on that Daiwa. I pretty much never slow pitch with much. I mean, I'll use 50 at times, but most of the time it's 20 and 30-pound braid. Interesting.
I went down to 40 on 2 of my reels and 50 on the other one, but I grew up with before these. You did too, before they came out with the jigging reels, and you jig with like a 50 or a 30 wide.
Oh yeah. You throw 80-pound braid on there and you put the wood to them, but it's amazing the size of the fish we land on that 30-pound braid. And one of the things is you need it seems like a lot of articles and talks about it kind of leave out sometimes, is that you need a long shock leader. I'm talking 25, 30-foot shock leader that you tie straight to your braid, because you guys know as well as I do, it's like if that braid hits structure, it's done. Under tension, it's going to break. But that long, heavy piece of mono, it can take a beating on rocks, on coral, on all kinds of stuff, and it can actually survive a lot of abuse. So the key is having that long shock leader. 30-pound braid on these outfits, when you consider that 30-pound braid breaks at probably over 50 pounds,
right,
and you're not putting anywhere close to that amount of drag on it. As long as you have something to take the abuse from the structure, you can land some very big fish doing that.
Did you say what pound test that shock leader was?
I use anywhere from 40 to 100. All depends on the setup and, of course, what kind of structures we're fishing. The other day, I never went above 60. I fished anywhere from 40 to 60 pounds.
Chris, it's one thing about the modern jigging rod too. The action is so different, at least on the fighting fish aspect of it. As you lift up, it has lifting power, but also kind of has some of that bend. It's like it's so much easier to constantly gain line, especially in the very beginning of the fight.
And I try to explain it this way. It's on a slow pitch rod, because everybody always, when you see people messing with a new rod that they're thinking about buying, what's the first thing they do? They do the whip test, sit there and jig the rod, which tells you almost next to nothing about the rod. Until you get an actual constant load on the rod tip, like a fish pulling on it, you're not going to understand the feel on it. But slow pitch jigging rods in particular, as opposed to the kind of more traditional parabolic ones that actually have some lift to them, the slow pitch rods, the rod is there just to work and present the jig. That's it. After that, all of your leverage, all your pulling power is right there in the palm of your hands, right in front of your chest. And you think about that leverage advantage. If you were to take a 6-foot pull stick and tie a 10-pound weight to the end of it, lay it out in front of you and try to pick it up, it's very, very hard to do. There's a lot of weight, even though it's only 10 pounds. But
yeah,
obviously,
sure,
if you reach straight down and pick up 10 pounds, it's not that hard. It's because that further that weight is from you, obviously you're going to have a huge leverage disadvantage. And that's how those slow pitch rods work. You get so much leverage because your pulling point is right there in your hands, right there tight to your body. So you have an immense amount of power over fish. What
about your jigs? What kind of weight were you guys using there, and what style? The blade style or the butterfly? What do you prefer?
Pretty much that we use, man. I'd love to tell you every jig we used the other day. We had a plethora of jigs, different brands, different styles. I mean, with slow pitch type fish, when you're fishing the bottom, you want jigs that have a lot more flutter, ones that don't just go up, like knife style jigs and kind of the traditional butterfly jigs where you have to impart action with the rod. You want these jigs for that type of fishing to have a lot of swim on the upsweep, and then when you're letting them down, they need to rock and roll and go all over the place. They need to have a lot of flash. And so we fished jigs from Daiwa, we fished jigs from Mustad, we fished some Johnny jigs, we fished I can't even think of all the brands of jigs we fished the other day. I'd tell you right now, I do not get hung up on the brand on the jigs. I just look at the shape of it. It's going to have a lot of swim and a lot of flutter. That's all I care about.
Sure. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yes. What weight? Man, there wasn't a lot of current the other day. At one point with that 20-pound braid, I mean, I had a 3.5, I think it was 150 gram jig. I was holding at 290 feet. Wow. I mean, and that's where that thin braid really, really comes in handy. Is you can use very lightweight jigs at pretty extreme depths with that thin braid.
Yep. Very cool. Yeah, that's something that I've been catching fish on jigs my whole life, but the slow pitch is obviously something that's exploded in the last, 2 or 3 years probably. So I have not done a ton of that, what they call slow pitch on the bottom for those bottom species. I'm definitely going to give that a try. The little setups are sweet.
Absolutely should.
I just Googled that Maxell reel. Man, that thing's bad to the bone.
It is, and it's probably one of the most overlooked pieces of equipment, and it's one of my absolute favorite. That company in general produces a lot of really good tackle, and it's not very well known, but I've had that hybrid, mine's the 25. I've had that reel now for about probably at least 5 years or so, and it's been incredible. I've caught tunas, big jacks, big grouper, all kinds of stuff on it, and it's never missed a beat.
Awesome, man. Well, let's kind of work our way inshore. What was next for you?
Let's see. I fished the beach a couple mornings, or one morning. That's right. No, wait. You know what? I'm losing track of time. I think
you're getting old, Chris.
2 mornings last, because I fished like 11 straight days last week, and I kind of burnt myself out just because of the heat and stuff. But we had a couple mornings down, near Fort Morgan. The jacks were running, and I'm always kind of a sucker for jack crevalle, so we were catching jacks. The trout bite down there has been very spotty. I kind of blame a lot of the water temperature on that, but I mean, they're you get on them some days. At least the fish we're catching in the surf are big. So when I do get on them, we're catching a lot of fish that are at least, in the low 20-inch to all the way up to like 25 inches. Flounder are still thick, still catching plenty of flounder in the surf. Pompano are becoming a little more hit and miss, which is kind of typical as you get late in June. But like I caught probably a 16-incher the other day on a 4-inch jerk bait. Every now and then a pompano can't hide his inner jack. It's
right.
Every time somebody seems surprised when a pompano is caught on a top water or on a hard bait, I have to remind them, like, they are still a jack. And they will do jack things. But yeah, the surf fishing right now is still on fire. I mean, that's still a really solid option for anybody who wants to go and just catch fish. The Spanish mackerel have been red hot in the mornings. Any ounce and a half, like spoons, diamond jigs, anything like that can cast a long distance or so, that small profile, will definitely get bit on the Spanish.
Talk to me about your setup for flounder from the beach. What's your, if you're targeted them, what's your go-to?
I keep it so simple. I use pretty much 3 and 4 inch swim baits, and I'll actually go as far as, like, I used to always carry 3-4 different tails and some heads with me. I keep it very simple. I use 2 baits anymore. I use the little Tsunami swim shad. They're 3 inches long. They're 3/8 ounce though, so they're pretty heavy. They're like $6 for a pack of 6, and I can just take that pack, put it in my pocket, and go walk the beach. I don't have to carry a bunch of gear with me.
Yeah.
I do carry a couple of the smaller hoagies. So Hoagie makes a 1 ounce, like 3.5 inch swim bait. So 1 ounce at that size and how slim it is, that thing stays on the bottom. So on those days when the current or the waves are real bad, I can work that thing on the beach for flounder, and I can feel it connecting with bottom every time, because it's like, I mean, it is like a little lead weight. It throws far and it gets deep and stays there. So that's kind of, I don't like blind casting that thing, because, like I say, it's about $6 for a pack of those Tsunamis. It's about $7 for one of those Hoagies. So I don't just blind cast it, because if the mackerel are bad or the bluefish are bad, that lure can be, they can get expensive real quick. But, on the days when the current's bad, I'll throw that Hoagie so I can maintain contact and be successful.
Chris, I noticed, and I'm curious if you noticed this, because you've been out a lot more, and maybe it was just I was out on 2 different days. But like 2 weeks ago, it didn't appear to be hardly any bait on the beach. This weekend when I went, there was bait everywhere, and a lot more Spanish and Kings. Are you seeing the same?
Yeah, there was, I guess it was, I'm trying to think of dates here in my head. I want to say it was back around the 9th and 10th. We had a couple of days on the beach where, I mean, like you said, there was a pretty noticeable absence of bait. There were, little bits of glass minnows coming through, and occasionally you'd see the little, most people mistake them for ballyhoo, but they're the little half beaks. They look like a bull minnow with a beak on the bottom, kind of like a small ballyhoo. There were some of those, but this week, man, there were alewives, threadfin herring, cigar minnows were thick right off the beach. There were the small silver mullet were running down there on the point. It was a predator's paradise down, all along the beachfront this past week.
That's good. That's what we want to see. That brings the big fish out so we can catch them.
Yeah. So, another good thing about all that bait, we've had a really good push of water. Yeah, I mean, the water has been crystal clear and beautiful off the beach for the last, week or so. And it's kind of led to some really cool catches. There's been a couple sailfish caught, close inshore. There's been some mahi caught off the state pier. I think the coolest catch, though, that I've heard here in the last week and a half, one of my customers, a guy named Alan Clement, he actually caught what I believe, or at least recorded, he caught a mahi off the beach on a topwater lure while walking and trying to cast for trout and stuff.
Wow.
And he sent me a couple pictures of it. When he first sent me the pictures, I was like, I had to kind of squint at it at first, like, is it? And then, I look at the next picture, I'm holding it, and he's like, man, I'm walking the beach and I see this group of fish, so I throw at it. One of them eats it and he pulls the hook on it, but he said before he could even get upset about it, another one grabbed it, and he said it started jumping. And when it started jumping, he was pretty shocked, because he knew what it was, yeah, I'm almost certain that's probably the first mahi I've ever heard of taken from the beach, casting plugs like that. It's very, very cool stuff.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of one either. That's really cool. I see Angelo salivating over there. I know what he wants to know.
I already know what he's about to ask me. I already know. Go ahead.
We were talking of the tarpon, obviously, and yes, I'm curious as to what you're seeing, because I went this Sunday and me and you talked. I didn't see any. We called it a day about 10:30, but I was over near the Gulf State Park Pier. We didn't see any, and then I had a friend that smoked them 2 days ago.
Well, it's June. You're going to get big waves of them. You're going to have a few days where there's going to be a lot of fish. Then you're going to have a few days where you should have just slept in or went to the islands or did something else. I fished tarpon, I think 5 days this past week, and we got on fish a couple days. And then there's 2 mornings where we did not see a single fish. And then I think it was Sunday morning, the morning I talked to you, we stayed out there a little later than I intended. We did see a couple really big, or one really big school of them, but those fish were, you could tell it's like they had run the gauntlet. They were moving slow. They were not hardly rolling. I don't think there's anything in the world that would have got those fish to bite. They were very disinterested in anything. They weren't afraid of the boat. They're right there at the boat. When they act like that, the writing's on the wall. You're not going to catch that group of fish. You just got to wait for the next. But we did get one bite on a smaller group later in the day and just didn't get the right stick on the hook, and ended up losing it. But, that's tarpon fishing. But good thing is the ones that were biting middle of the week last week, plastics. We didn't have to do no kind of setting up and live baiting. Everything ate plastics. If you threw a hoagie swim bait or whatever kind of swim bait ahead of the school and got it right there across their faces, they ate pretty much every time.
Chris, I've been experimenting, but I've not had contact with one. I notice on your hoagies you still have the J hook. You set the hook and hook the fish. I use a tsunami, and on one of my baits, I have the hook cut off and I have a circle hook going into where the eye is, not right to the eye. I've got a little setup there. But have you ever tried that? And any luck doing it?
Oh yeah. No, so I tried a couple different circle hook setups. Of course, when they're tailing and riding high, I'll throw a weightless one where I have a circle hook just nose hooked, through the plastic, and I've done very well doing that. But I've also Ross Gallagher with Hoagie actually shared, I can't take credit for it, but he actually shared a rigging technique with a circle hook with me where you take that Hoagie swim bait and actually just cut the hook off altogether. And on the eye, you attach a split ring, as small and as strong of a split ring as you can get to that eye where your hook and the barb can pass through it. And then he used a small zip tie right behind the split ring to stop the hook from pulling back through. And I used that for a couple seasons and I've actually had pretty good luck with it. You just have to, be able to stomach taking your $9 swim bait and snipping the hook off of it right away. But it definitely works. And the cool thing is the way that circle hook is sliding through that split ring, when you hook up on the fish and he comes up and, he's jumping, he's thrashing, the swim bait slides away from the hook. You know what I mean? It just goes away altogether. So your bait's not getting torn up. And that circle hook is free to completely, engage there in the jaw. So it's actually a pretty cool rigging technique.
So you throw out, the bite happens. How do you set the hook? Do you just continue to reel till line comes off the reel? What are you
talking about, with the swim bait with a circle hook, or which one?
Yeah, with the swim bait with a circle hook. We'll go through both scenarios.
Well, with the circle hook, yeah, when you feel them on there, you have to resist. I have the rod pointed slightly offset when I'm fishing the circle hook. That way when he hits, I can kind of move let the rod kind of move towards him so that the hook has a little bit of play to rotate into the corner of the jaw. And then you just have to reel. And once you get tight and drag is slipping a little, I'll kind of bump them a little bit, When you're throwing one on a J hook, it's completely different. All the ones I threw this last week were on J hooks. They're all the Hoagie slow tails, which are the 1.25 ounce model, and we also threw the 2 ounce. But I throw and I point the rod straight at the swim bait, so there's zero slack between me and that swim bait as I'm retrieving it. And that way, when that tarpon hits, you got zero slack on. You know how the mouth is on this fish; it's like a cinder block. So as soon as he eats, I hit him. I'll hit him 3 or 4 times, about as hard as I can, in the opposite direction. And that way that hook gets as deep in that jaw as possible, and you stand a better chance, obviously, him not throwing it. Those fish are the best at throwing a hook. So, you want that hook as stuck as it gets.
So basically what you're saying is you're not jigging that swim bait. You're just swimming it across.
Yep. Straight retrieve.
Cool. That's pretty good information right there, folks.
Yep. Very, very, very good tips.
Yeah. A lot of guys are doing they'll try to do the pump and drop and pump. I never catch them doing that. I reel that thing. I point it, I said, I throw it. I get it going. I'm going fast enough to get the tail kicking, and that's about it. But I don't do any pauses. I don't do any jumps of the rod or anything. Just straight and slow. And that's it. And my hookup is so much better if I do that as well. I'm not gonna say I've never tried to do a pump and sweep maneuver with it, but in the past, anytime I did that, I feel like I missed more fish or I foul hooked more fish. If I just throw and do a straight swim, I get a good clean eat. The hook is usually going to land either in the corner of the jaw or it's going to be right there in the button on the on the upper jaw right through the top. And that's my favorite place because it is not coming out if it goes there.
So run through us with this scenario then. The fish are coming at you. Where are you trying, or you see the fish, where are you trying to position the boat? How are you trying to position the bait as the fish are coming at you?
Ideally you want to be ahead of the fish as good as possible. Throwing over the top of the school, I'm not saying that they won't eat it when you do that, but you also stand a way bigger chance of getting broke off by another fish in the group because those fish love to, after they get hooked up, they love to try to stay with the group, and I've been broken off by other fish in the group a number of times. So I always try to ice to get ahead of the fish, and I always try to throw to those few lead fish of the group. They're always the ones that are they kind of lead the show as it is. I also feel like the chance of you getting your bigger fish are up there, but it varies. I just know that my success rate is higher if I can throw to the lead fish, whether it's straight across them or straight at them. I really like it kind of quartered because when you throw at them straight on, like if they're coming right at you, when you get to eat, a lot of time he's still coming at you. So getting your slack out of the line can be a lot harder. If you're quartered or you're straight side to him, when you're straight side to him, of course, your window to get your bait right across his face is narrower. So when you're quartered, you have way more chance of your bait being seen by multiple fish as it comes across.
It definitely makes sense. Tarpon is on my list. Chris keeps saying he's going to take me, but he won't ever take me to his honey holes. So I never get invited whenever he goes.
There is no honey hole. These are migrating fish. They are all up and down the beach. You just have to actually come down here I can take you.
That's true. That's fair. So I'm obviously inexperienced. Whenever you're looking for these schools, do you just come out of the pass and get up in the tower or get behind the wheel like you're looking for a ling? What's your strategy?
You're pretty much, there's 2 options. You can either run and gun, look for rolling fish. That to me is more fun in my opinion. But what a lot of people end up doing is doing the old anchor and intercept method, which is you're getting off the beach. The depths can vary. Those fish can be in 12 feet of water. They can be in 30 feet of water. Last week, a lot of the fish were out in 25 to 28 feet. So you're trying to get on a line to intercept those fish as they migrate down the beach, and you're putting out 2 or 3 bait. I use big floats. Some people still use balloons, of course, but you're basically waiting for those migrating fish to come down the beach. And that's what I tell a lot of people when they ask me about the best spot. I'm like, they are moving down the beach. There is no best spot. The best spot is the beach, but you got to just pick a spot. I pick a spot away from everybody. That's my favorite spot, and it varies every day. But as soon as I see where all the boats are, my spot is going to be where they aren't. So, there's plenty of fish coming down the beach. Just get away from everybody. One thing I will say, as far as in terms of etiquette, that's where you have some of the problems, especially if you get some guys that haven't done it long and they're still kind of learning. Is the fish are moving east to west primarily. So if you see a boat anchored up, tarpon fishing, don't go right around him and anchor 100 yards to his east, because you're literally just any of the fish that he's been waiting on, you're in a distance to where you're just going to divert those fish around him. And if you hook up to him that close and those fish continue down the beach, you're likely to get broke off by his anchor line or his lines or something anyway. So it's not good for either one of you two. If you give each other 300-400 yards, that's fine. Everybody gets a shot on fish as they move down the beach, but you want to give a little bit of space to each other.
That makes sense, man. That's great tips, man. Those are some great reports.
One more question, and like I think Butch, this would be helpful for you because I had my dad on the boat with me this Sunday, and he lives on Mobile Bay, but you're on Fowl River.
Yeah.
And I've just never tried it this far west. But Chris, what's your thoughts of fishing like kind of off Fort Morgan? We know they're rolling down the beach. I mean, it'd be a heck of a lot easier for Butch to be fishing off Fort Morgan than it would be Pensacola Beach, for instance.
I mean, absolutely. The fish, if anything, down like when you get out of Fort Morgan, the fish will hug closer to the beach because the bar swings closer. I mean, I've launched out of Fort Morgan and caught them down there, much closer to the fort. I mean, it's like I was saying earlier, the fish are migrating down the beach. Now, once they get to Fort Morgan, as you probably know, is kind of that's kind of the diversion point. You know, those fish have been traveling a beachfront from basically Cape San Blas all the way to, you know, Gulf Shores. But once you cross, you know, Dixie Bar, you don't have the same beach setup from there on out. It's a completely different. You have the Barrier Islands, you have Mississippi Sound. So the fish kind of scatter at that point. It can definitely make it harder to catch. Now, I've got some buddies in Mississippi that have learned, you know, figured out how to target them over there in Mississippi Sound. I think it's a lot more of a run and gun type aspect. But right there, I mean, right there east of Dixie Bar, there's plenty of spots to set up and catch them. And I've done it many times.
That's a great point about the fish scattering at Fort Morgan. I guess I've never really thought about that before. They pretty much have, you know, except for a few small passes. Then after Fort Morgan, it breaks up pretty good, like you say, with those barrier reefs and all. I've never really thought about that.
Yeah, you never know where they're going to be at that point because some will go up the channel and go into the bay. Some of them will divert and travel into the ICW towards Dauphin Island. Others will head offshore, head to Chandeleurs, head to, you know, they just kind of go all over the place at that point. There's no consistent beachfront with that drop that they're accustomed to as they've been traveling the last few hundred miles. So it's a different migration pattern at that point. If you look at the satellite tracks, I know you've probably seen them shared. You know, if you look at the satellite tracks, once those fish get down the beach, they just kind of, you know, and you know, when they go on their spawn, usually around the full moon in July, there's going to be like a big mass exodus. The fish were traveling inshore, and all of a sudden, a lot of them went straight offshore. Some of them will go, you know, 150 miles offshore. And those fish form those big spawning aggregates. And then in a few days' time, they're right back on the beach again. So you'll be seeing a lot of fish. And then all of a sudden, it's like there's no fish on the beach for a couple of days. You don't see them rolling. You're not marking them on the depth finder or anything. And then you go a couple of days later and, you know, poof, they're all back on the beach again. So they have some funny little migration patterns to them for sure. They're here today, gone tomorrow, and moody. You know, they're going to bite like a light switch and they're going to turn off just as fast. So I think that's all kind of the stuff that makes me love catching them because they're very picky. They can be very frustrating.
Any tide preference on those tarpon? Or is it just
incoming for sure, but I've caught them on both tides.
Very good to know. Anything else, Angelo?
Nothing. I don't know if there's a fish that is more humbling to fish for than a tarpon. They will make you question your sanity, any kind of skills you think you may have, any kind of pattern you think you might have figured out, it goes out the door. And it's, I say, Chris, it's interesting that you're right. They go everywhere once they hit Mobile Bay. Mm-hmm. And I mean, if you look, I wish I could remember where to go to check the tarpon tagging thing, but some of them go straight across the Gulf into the mouth of the Mississippi. I mean, those fish are strikingly far offshore.
Yep.
It's wild.
Oh, yeah.
Agreed. I've seen some of that, and they're very cool to see.
Yeah, some are out like where the floaters and stuff are. You'd expect to see them while you're tuna fishing.
God, I mean, wouldn't that be trippy?
It's wild. I've seen them out like down in South Florida. Of course, a lot different, but you know, I've been out in the Gulf Stream off the Florida Keys in 800, 900 feet of water and watched, you know, giant pods of tarpon, you know, traveling straight across the Gulf Stream.
That's epic.
It's quite a sight. They're just rolling end over end, and there'll be, you know, 100 plus tarpon, and it's cool. It's
crazy.
It's pretty cool. Really cool.
Very cool, man. Awesome reports, great experiences, lots of tarpon tips there. We appreciate you giving your wisdom to our listeners, man. If folks want to come up to Sam's and get a slow pitch set up or a tarpon set up or whatever they may need for the summer, what's the best way to find you and what's the best way to call you and get up with you?
Obviously, you can give me a call at the store, 251-981-4245. Any questions and stuff, I'm always, you know, me or Mark or one of us is always here, willing to answer. Store's open 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. at 27122 Canal Road. So yeah, any anything dealing with anything we talked about and beyond, I mean, Mark and I can help you. So let us.
Awesome, man. We appreciate you taking care of our listeners as always, and we look forward to hearing from you next time, buddy. Y'all be safe.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that was a great report on tarpon and pompano and flounder. We went around the world with Chris Vecsey over there at Sam's Bait and Tackle. Let's take a quick break and check out a few of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by CCA Alabama. 30 special tagged redfish will be released inside Alabama coastal waters before the tournament starts on the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend and ends on Labor Day Monday for 101 days of angling. If CCA does not have a grand prize winner during the tournament, the grand prize will convert into a raffle for all registered anglers. Registration is only $75 and $40 for current CCA members. Sign up now at joincca.org/star tournament. And also brought to you by Fishbites. Whether you are hitting the sand with set rigs using the traditional scent strips for pompano or fishing the flats or marshes for speckled trout, redfish, and flounder, Fishbites has something for you. Family owned and operated in St. Augustine, Florida, they pride themselves on making reliably consistent fishing products for anglers of all ages around the world. Fishbites baits and lures are made with pride in the Sunshine State of the USA. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits at fishbites.com. All right, Angelo, let's head on down to Orange Beach area. Let's get our offshore report this week. Man, we have a new contributor. It's Captain Michael Cleveland. The boat that he fishes off primarily is a Pop-N-Kork. Welcome to the show, Michael. How are we doing today?
Thanks, man. Doing good. Headed over to Destin to fish the Emerald Coast this weekend, so hopefully we'll have some good luck.
Heck yeah, I hope you guys do, man. I love that name of that boat, Pop-N-Kork.
I hope you have better luck than you had on the way over.
Yeah. We're I can't say enough though about the service. A little backstory: we were about 20 miles from Destin, and we blew a power head on one of our engines, and called Chris Bezor with Grander, and they had a trailer waiting on us when we got back to Orange Beach, and we're sitting here at Grander right now, and they should have it fixed here in the next few hours, and we will be back on the water headed that way.
Dang, man. Well, I hope they get you taken care of there at Grander. Tell us a little bit about your boat.
Yeah, we've got a 40-foot Invincible. Can't say enough about the boat. It has been an incredible boat to fish off of. I've been fishing on the boat for about a year and a half. We started fishing tournaments this year. I'd always fished offshore, going with friends, going with a couple of charters, always had a love for the sport. And then once we got our own boat, man, it was I've spent a lot of hours out there, and it's been a learning curve. If you don't learn something new every time you go out, I'd love to meet that person because they're a genius. But with everything, it's a learning curve, but it has been a passion of mine that's just grown. And the 40-foot Invincible, like I said, can't say enough about the boat. Can't say enough about Grander, who we bought the boat from, with their service. It's just been a great boat. I mean, it runs great. We fished all kind of weather. When we kind of joked when we first bought the boat a year and a half ago, nothing was in but triggerfish, and we were fishing every single day, going out and catching our limited triggerfish. And people would look at us, we were going off the rocks, it'd be 3 to 4s, sometimes 5 to 6s out there. We were just going and putting hours on the boat trying to learn what we could. But
that's the only way to do it.
Oh yeah.
I'll say this: I met Michael this year, and how quickly he has picked up. He's gone out and made friends with all the really good fishermen. So his learning curve has been cut way down. But he's the perfect guy for an interview on this podcast, because like he just said, he's hey, I fished with other people. We went on charters, and I bought my own boat, and now I'm out figuring it out himself. And Butch, the amount of fish this guy has caught in such a small little period of time,
I love it.
It's been crazy. And so I think some of it's luck, some of it's getting out there and fishing a lot, and a lot of it is learning from other people, whether it's something like a podcast or just being fortunate enough to kind of befriend the right people, and they get on your boat and show you a few things.
Yep.
I had a lot of good mentors, and listening to the show. I remember last year driving down, every time I'd make that drive down from Birmingham before I moved down here to Orange Beach, making that drive down here to get on the boat, I would listen to 3 or 4 episodes, listening to what everybody was doing, watching YouTube videos, just trying to figure everything out. And for those guys getting started, there is no such thing as a dumb question. I mean, if you know somebody that fishes, reach out, talk to them, ask questions. I mean, people will help you out, and there is no dumb question. It may seem dumb to you, but if you don't ask it, you're not going to know.
Yep, that's exactly right. And if you're not learning, you're going backwards, just like you were saying a minute ago. That's 100% true.
Yep. But no, we've had a great, these past 2 weeks, it's been a great 2 weeks in the Gulf. We've caught just about every species that we've fished for. We been running out to the rigs a lot, doing a lot of tuna fishing, and the tuna bite has been phenomenal. It has been. We haven't been seeing a lot of really big fish, but those perfect 50, 60 pounders out there. If you have live bait, there's multiple methods that you can do it. Main thing is just making sure you have the live bait and going out there and giving it a go. And there is plenty of tuna, plenty of action out there right now.
Michael, what kind of bait you fishing with?
Here in Orange Beach, you don't ever know what you're going to get. A lot of crazy fish, horn bellies, a lot of LYs. Really, it doesn't really matter what you get to me. I know some people have different things that they like using. I feel like, to me, it's more of a numbers game. You need a lot of live bait.
Are you live bait chumming?
We do it different ways. Sometimes, you can feed the live baits off the side of the boat and kind of do some live bait chumming. You can do it out the back of the boat. We've been successful on just about every method. If they're not biting one method, we'll try another method.
What's your rod and reel setup? I was just going to kind of ask what your setup was as far as, do you change your hook? Obviously matching your hook size to your bait size.
Yeah. I'm always going to my baits. Depending on what you're fishing with, you got to scale down. I mean, you can't fish a crazy fish with a 6-7/0 hook and it's not going to swim right. And then that really blue water, your presentation is not going to look right. I mean, those fish you've got a lot of boats going out there from Venice. You got a lot of people out there fishing. And why would those tuna eat the fish that's swimming sideways through the water? You got to scale down. That's what I always tell people. If you're not getting a bite, scale down. Go to a lighter leader, go to a smaller hook. I mean, we've caught tuna off 1/0 hooks before. I mean, you're looking at it like this is a brim hook and you'll catch tuna.
Yeah, that's very cool. I admittedly do not have much experience at all live baiting. I was always a trolling guy whenever I was doing most of my offshore fishing. Whenever you're live baiting these tuna, are you looking for fish on your machine and kind of getting over the biomass of fish, or what's your strategy there?
Yeah. So I'm looking at the current, and as soon as I pull up to a rig or wherever I'm fishing, I'll kind of drive around for a little while, try to mark the fish. And I've been out on the rigs before where we got there at daylight and didn't get a bite until 1 o'clock. Well, then 1 o'clock starts and we put 10 fish in the box. It's when those fish want to eat and having the bait ready when they do. I'm all the time. I tell everybody on the boat, be looking for fish busting. Just keep your eyes on the water. Like just a good pair of sunglasses and watching what's going on in the water, I think, is one of the biggest keys. Because you could be out there and there could be hundreds of tuna and you could be fishing in the wrong spot. And you're not going to have any luck.
Right. I've also seen it where, live baiting's not working that particular day. You got to put up a kite.
Oh, yeah.
You might catch one that way and you put a couple trollers out and catch one that way. And sometimes they just want something a little bit different, it seems like.
Yep, no doubt. I mean, and like I said, you already made the investment to the trip. I mean, you do yourself a service and spend that little bit of extra money and just have everything on the boat that you need to do whatever you need to do. Like you fish for a couple hours and they're not eating live bait. Put some trollers out, put a couple of lures out, put some ballyhoo out, and troll around and see what happens. See, on the other end where you were saying you don't have much experience live baiting, I haven't done that much trolling until here recently, and we've had a lot of luck. Even in these past 2 weeks, we went out to the east Sunday on Father's Day, and rolled up and went 1 for 2 on blue marlin. Put some mahi in the boat, and we did all that with blue and white islanders with ballyhoo.
Very nice. It's hard to beat a blue and white islander or a pink and white, anything with a horse ballyhoo. I love those big islanders.
Michael, were you fishing structure, contour lines, rips? What were you fishing out to the east, if you don't mind?
Out to the east, I was fishing around the fads. Okay. Haven't been out there a whole lot this year. I've gone out there a couple times for mahi, but never gone out there just for a straight up trolling trip. And we carried some live bait with us too. But I mean, those fads have really impressed me with what they've done in a short amount of time while they've been out there. The amount of bait that they're holding, the amount of action that I saw while we were out there Sunday was very impressive.
Cool.
What water temperatures are you seeing out there at those fads? Were you paying attention?
I did not pay attention. I kind of looked, and everybody has their own methods and everybody says different things. But the main thing that I'm looking at is watercolor and altimetry. Not saying that the sea temps don't matter. They 100% do. But there's what I've come to find out is there's fish there.
Right. Well,
especially when you have that structure.
Exactly.
When that structure is involved, the amount of bait that's holding around it, there's fish there, and there's fish there all the time.
I agree with that. I was just curious about the water temps.
I have a question, Michael. You know, you're fishing the fads. They're not far apart from each other, but you're in a fast boat. Are you trolling from fad to fad? Or are you like reeling in your spread, running to the next fad, trolling around it? There's two different ways to do it.
I've done both things. I've had more luck trolling. I do real long passes around the fads. I'll be honest, both marlin bites that we got on Sunday, the one that we landed, the one that we had a really good tag and release on, I promise you my ballyhoo was not 6 feet off that fad. I was sitting there. We had family with us on a Father's Day trip, and we were all kind of doing stuff, and we had just started trolling, and my brother was driving the boat, and I looked over and I was like, "You're a little too close." About that time I looked back and I was like, "We're getting hit." I could see a marlin hitting it. So I was like, all right, let's try this again. We lost that fish, and 2 passes later, we hooked up on a really nice blue marlin that we were able to get in and release. It was a pretty awesome Father's Day.
Yeah, I would say so, man. Congratulations.
Any size to the dolphin?
We've caught some good dolphin. They weren't, I wouldn't consider them bulls by no means, but they were really solid 15 to 20 pound fish. Oh, and we caught dolphin out to the east and on live bait while we were tuna fishing. It's always exciting whenever you hook a dolphin while you're tuna fishing, because there's usually several more that roll up with them. So what I always do, even for tuna, I'll always have a spinning reel rigged up with a live bait with a fluorocarbon leader, a shorter fluorocarbon leader, and a live bait hook. And if I'm live chunking or doing something and this fish come up and start busting, I can pick that spinning reel up and pitch it to them. And even when the mahi come rolling up, that's the best way to catch them. They come rolling up, and you can kind of pinpoint where you want to cast that out and put it right in front of their face and get a bite. Having a spinning reel ready to rock and roll, that can make all the difference in the world sometimes. Sometimes those fish, having that bait hit the water, it kind of get a reaction bite. And we caught 12 tuna last weekend, and probably 9 to 10 of those were from a spinning reel. Once those fish came up and started rolling on baits, I was able to put it in front of them. We were able to get the bite on the spinning reel, which is always a very exciting bite and a fun bite.
Yeah, definitely makes those fights a little bit longer for sure when they're not on those 30s or 50s.
Oh yeah, it's fun. But then we also have after we fished around the fads and we caught those blue marlin and mahi, we came back in, and if you don't have a Seymour mapping or a Garmin mapping technology on your boat, definitely make the investment and get it. We came back in and fished some rock structure from that 40 to 35 mile range back in from the east, and about anywhere from 400 to 300 foot of water. And man, it was like going to the grocery store. We loaded up on beeliner, red snapper. We caught a limit scamp grouper. I mean, it was an awesome day. We had an epic Father's Day cookout when we got back.
Sounds like it, man. Those scamp have been on fire. These guys over here on the island have been mashing them too.
I was about to say, I think they were biting on Sunday. I mean, look, your brother's as good a bottom fisherman as there is, but even he was like, we've never
epic.
They were like, we can't remember last time we had a haul like this.
They caught 45.
That's crazy.
They had 45 brownfish.
That's insane. And they were eating everything. I had a grouper rig with live bait. They were hitting the live bait. We were catching beeliner on just some 10-ounce weights with 2-hook rigs with squid, catching beeliner, and dropped it down. My cousin was like, "I've got something big on." And he's like, "This thing's pulling drag." And reeled it up, and it was a 24 and a 26-inch scamp on both hooks.
Wow.
I was like, this is crazy.
That's epic, man. That's fun.
Bite has been great. And I've seen a lot of big snapper caught out of Orange Beach. It seems like the snapper have been really big this year. A lot of people catching fish. It's been here lately. The fishing has been pretty epic.
Yeah, it's funny that you talk about having a spinning reel ready to go, like for those tuna and dolphin whenever they show up on top. That was one of the tips last week, was have a cobia rod ready. Have something ready to throw with those ling, because once you see them, if you're trying to hook on a bait, it's just too late. It's over with.
Oh yeah, we had it happen last weekend. We were out snapper fishing and looked down, and we had a kid on the boat with us, and he looked down and he said, "Shark." I looked down, I was like, "Oh buddy, that's not a shark." And we ended up picking off a 61 and a 45-pound cobia off one spot.
Man,
that was awesome. exactly how we caught him. I mean, no matter what kind of fishing I'm doing, if I'm offshore, I'm always going to have a spinning reel rigged up with a fluorocarbon leader and a hook ready to throw a live bait in, because you don't ever know what's going to come swimming up to your boat.
Yep, that's a fact. That's the beauty of offshore fishing for me too.
Yep.
Butch, it almost sounds like that's our offshore tip of the week right there. I mean, 2 weeks in a row, somebody says that.
Yep, definitely, man. Well, yeah, speaking of, do you have anything like a tip in mind for our listeners for the offshore report? I know you've been doing a ton of fishing. Anything stick out to you in the last couple of weeks that we hadn't covered yet?
Like the spinning reel for sure. And then carry a variety of, if you're going out and fishing, carry a variety of leader out. You know, it doesn't matter if it's tuna, if it's snapper. If you're not getting bites, you know, these fish are getting a lot of pressure. I mean, we've had great weather recently. You got a lot of people out fishing. Scale down, have a variety of leaders, have a variety of different baits that you can try, and just get out there. You know, you're not going to catch them sitting on the dock. And if you get out there with enough bait, and you're going to catch something. I mean, you're like I said, it's a learning curve, and it shouldn't intimidate people to get out there and try it. I mean, get out and watch some videos, listen to the podcast, and like look at different methods to catch fish. And if you're out there, you're going to catch one. Just give it time. And like I said, the bite may not happen as soon as you roll up. It may take a little while, but look at those minors and majors and pay attention to your Hiltons and rip charts.
Yep, that's a great tip.
Before we let them go, just because, I mean, I love tarpon fishing, and I know
I forgot you caught a bunch
of like insight into like everything that happened. But Michael, you texted me some pictures yesterday that were, hey, Graham takes some of the best wildlife photography. I don't think that that's a profession of his, but he takes some of the best wildlife photography I've ever seen. They were beautiful pictures, but I'll let you kind of go into just the story of the day, because it was a pretty epic day for you guys.
Oh yeah, it was. Graham Taylor, who Angelo mentioned, Graham has been like a big brother to me my whole life. He's been one of my mentors, not only in hunting, fishing, but just in life. He's a great guy. Yeah, Graham called me and was like, let's go catch some tarpon. We had been seeing them off the beach while we were catching bait, and rolled up out there, and we were fishing in his Hills Bay, and you know, my 40-foot Invincible, it would have been gorgeous weather. In a skiff, it was a little bumpy. We went out. It was ones to twos. It was bumpy, and it was a little bit more difficult to kind of find the fish. They were, whenever you get white caps and rollers like that, those fish tend to kind of stay under the bottom. They don't roll near as much. But we were able to get on them, hooked up on a fish really early that broke the leader. That was well over a 200-pound fish.
Wow.
And then ended up landing about a 160-pounder. It was a gorgeous fish, gorgeous fight. It was definitely one of the highlights of my saltwater fishing career. I mean, it was pretty epic. It was beautiful.
Artificial baits?
We caught that one on live bait, but we also caught some smaller fish on artificial, on hoagies. That's kind of another thing. You don't ever know what they're going to be fishing, whatever the fish are going to be biting. But we did catch some on artificial too, some smaller 40, 50-pound fish. We called them some hoagies.
Very, very cool, man. Well, we appreciate you giving your report to our listeners, and some great tips in there, man. We appreciate you being on the show today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate y'all having me.
Good luck in the tournament this weekend, and be safe out there.
Yep. Hopefully we'll be back on the water soon.
All right, folks, that was an awesome offshore report from Michael Cleveland on the Pop-N-Kork. You guys take a quick break and check out a few of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by KillerDock. As anglers, we put a lot of time, money, and passion into fishing, but most of us do not have a fish cleaning station that we are proud of. Many of us are suffering from dock dysfunction. A rod and table with rusty metal, this is just no good. But the dock enhancement that we've all been waiting for is finally here. KillerDock uses marine-grade aluminum to make fabulous fish cleaning tables and stunning canopies that will keep us out of the sun. KillerDock combines durability, function, and design to uniquely upgrade your entire dock experience. Visit KillerDock.com to see more. And also brought to you by Hilton's Offshore Charts. The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. You need the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. Make the choice that professional captains all over the Gulf make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. All right, man, let's head down and get our last report of the day, but certainly not the least. Let's see what Captain Richard Rutland's doing with cold-blooded fishing. What'd you say, Captain Richard?
Butch, Daddy, and Angelina, what y'all doing, boys?
Oh man, well, look, we've made all the hot weather jokes today, so outside of that, not doing as much fishing as you are, I'm sure, but we probably will have to have less skin cancer removed in the future.
Maybe.
You got that right, man. I hope I ever have to go under the knife. All these old guys I take fishing all the time are always talking about, oh man, like last month I had to get one cut out of me, man. They like show me these scars, you know. I'm adamant about that sunscreen and staying covered up, man. I tell you, I kind of thought the hooded performance shirt was kind of like a joke when they first came out. And now I'm like trying to make sure that they're in the wash as soon as I wear them, so I can wear them again, you know.
Yep. Man, you're right. Those things save my ears and the back of my neck. I like them a lot.
Dude, those ears.
Man, I can't tell you how much cooler they keep you. You know what I mean? Just like anything less sun exposure.
Yep.
Staying covered up, you know, like I always kind of poke fun at Captain Patrick, you know, because he wears pants. Yep. Every day wears pants. I can't wear pants. I gotta wear shorts, man. My legs look too good to not wear shorts, you know. So, but Doug wears shorts every day, you know, and he's got a long sleeve performance with a hood on every day, you know. And man, I tell you, I love those hoods, man, and especially right now with this 100-something degree. I mean, I'm sitting in my truck right now. I'm looking at 103 degrees, and my truck's in the shade. So,
I believe it.
Golly.
What you been up to, man? Tell us a fish story. Just kind of walk us through your last couple banner days, what you guys been chasing, and walk us through it. We'll see, kind of ask some questions as we see fit.
Yeah, so man, it's been a really hot period here lately. You know, maybe we'll just kind of start with inshore. Inshore lately, like northern part of the Mississippi Sound has just been really, really, really full of life. There are so many fish in the northern part of the Mississippi Sound right now, like west of Dolphin Island Bridge, that the water is dirty. It looks like it's muddy, like it's rained for days and days and days from all the fish activity, you know, all the pogies and I mean, I'm sure it's trout and shrimp and white trout and everything else that's going on over there. There's been these giant bird schools just littered all over the place with seagulls getting down on shrimp. And, you know, it's kind of one of those things you can stop on every single one of them if you want. And like half of them will be a bunch of speckled trout and white trout mixed in, or you got gaff tops mixed in there as well. You know, some of them are nothing but gaff tops, you know, and it usually doesn't take you too long to figure out whether it's gaff tops or not. We hadn't even wasted live bait on them, you know, just doing voodoo shrimp under a Pop-N-Kork. But man, just tons of action down there. I swear, I think in the past month, like Portersville Bay has been chocolate milk with literally fish activity. You know, there hadn't been enough wind or rain or anything to mess up the water, but it's fish activity over there. That's how many fish are in that area right now. It is unbelievable. Other cool things I've been doing have Gulf Beach has been a lot of fun. Been doing a lot of wade fishing on the Gulf Beach and doing it all on artificial. Top water has been great. I think that was kind of in my report several weeks ago. You know, the top water bite has remained just absolutely phenomenal. And I tell you the thing that's kind of been happening to us a little bit, just to kind of maybe put everybody ahead of the 8 ball a little bit. The beach is starting to get trashy lately, you know, where you're starting to get the bluefish and Spanish mackerel and sharks and things. And when you go to subsurface like slick lures or throwing croakers, like free line of croakers and grubs and things of that nature, you're getting bluefish, Spanish mackerel, ladyfish, stuff like that. For whatever reason, that top water seems to kind of weed out a little of that trash. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's been one thing I've kind of been combating some of that trash, the trash fish bite with out there. So the top water's been a lot of fun. And then,
well, let me ask you this about that beach fishing stuff.
Yeah.
I struck out a couple of times trying to figure out that stuff. One time it was a little too rough. on the sound side, you and I talk about, looking for life, looking for those little mullet jumping along the beach. There's some grass in some areas and some mud, but south side's all sand. Like, what are you looking for whenever you're finding fish? What's the key ingredient?
The thing I really like to do is generally back in April, as soon as the water starts to clean up some, I'll usually spend several hours running up and down the beach in the boat. And when I do that, I get right up on the beach when I'm running down the beach. And when I say right up on the beach, I'm like 2 boat lengths off of the beach. And you gotta wait for the right day. You gotta have good sun. You gotta have clear water, and not a lot of surf activity. And I kind of do a little bit of a scouting mission. And if you're out off of the beach a couple 100 yards or 100 yards and you're running down the beach, you can't see the contours of the beach. You're just looking up and seeing the beach. But when you get right up against the beach and you're running down, you can see little points and imperfections in the beach and whatnot. And when you do that and you see a little point come out or something, I always slow down, start to look at it. And what my favorite recipe for beach fishing is finding deeper water right up against the beach, and usually that's associated with some type of sandbar. You'll have like a little point that you can see on the beach, and you'll see a bar come out on either one side or the other. There's usually deeper water, and that's where those fish like to hang, is in right around those troughs or those points where there's deeper water right up against the beach.
Gotcha. So relief's really what you're looking for of some sort.
That's right. They're not going to hang out on just like a long stretch of beach with no feature to it. There's got to be some kind of feature, some type of drop in the water depth, or a hole, or and even if you can find structure down there's some places on both Fort Morgan and Dolphin Island where you can find mud lumps, right up against the beach on the Gulf side, where there's little drops, and like I said, it's mud or clay or something like that that's right along. Anything like that's going to hold bait and hold fish. Makes
sense, man. What else you been up to? Been finding any tripletail?
Yeah, tripletail fishing's been great. Dang near every guide trip I've run in the past 2 months, we've found one every day, just about. We're not catching a keeper every time or whatever, but I've seen as many as 15 on a trip and caught 11 or 12, I think, is our best day. Dang near every trip we're at least seeing a few, and so that's been phenomenal. And then, of course, I'm sure some folks have seen on my social media. We had really, really good couple of trips last week catching ling. Ling fish has been through the roof, and it's not just me. It's a lot of folks are doing real good. I saw Captain King got a real good one last week or the week before last. That's been phenomenal. It's been really fun. It's really good to see because, as usual, the springtime beach migration has been non-existent, and then boom, all of a sudden these big giant fish start showing up all over the place. I've had 2 fish over 60 pounds and one not far behind them, and
man, that's so good to see.
I've seen a couple more that were really good quality fish.
I mean, I don't remember the last time that I heard of or saw, like you say, man. I mean, I know Captain Kirk caught one that was like 82 or 86. It was over 80. I don't remember the last time that I saw, anywhere between 5 and 10 fish over 60 pounds come off of, just south of here. I don't remember that in the last 10 years. You?
No, me neither. No, it's been phenomenal. I hope we're in good shape with the fishery. You know what I mean? I'm in the fish killing business, so I kill a few, but I also let a few go and do some science on them and whatnot with the Sea Lab, doing the satellite tags and whatnot, trying to learn what we can about them. But I don't know. I'm just not too quick to point the finger. Like I said, that April-May beach bite isn't happening. And everybody's real quick to say, oh man, the ling are all in bad shape and blah, 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 which I would agree. The past 2 seasons for me have been terrible, compared to previous years. So I'm not saying there's not something wrong, but when you start to see this kind of activity right here, it really starts to make you rethink everything.
Definitely agree, man. For y'all doing anything special for those ling, or just kind of doing the deal, looking for them around structure?
Yep, just fishing around structure. Obviously, as far as seeing everybody on social media, the ships have been great. I actually been doing something a little bit different, fishing around some of the shrimp boats. There's a lot of shrimpers right off the beach right now, and first thing in the morning, they're usually anchoring up and coming through their bycatch. There's a bunch of sharks and jacks and all that kind of stuff, and a little bit later in the morning, after that kind of activity chills out, you can get out there and go make a little racket, or make a little racket with a gaff or a rod around the back of those shrimp boats, and then and/or pitching live baits up and letting them drift down the sides. And we caught some really nice fish doing that. So that's been fun, and that's something that's kind of cool, because you can literally this time of year, like once shrimping season opens up, you can go from here all the way to Louisiana and all the way down to Florida and back, and find shrimp boats anchored up to be able to find that kind of activity. Bait of choice is for me is always live pogies, free lined or on a knocker rig. Usually use about a 3 to 4 ounce weight on a knocker rig with a circle hook, about a 6/0 circle hook or so. Like I said, either free lined or with a little bit of weight on it, and kind of get up and start working every single angle you can on around those shrimp boats or ships. Has been very, very successful. Very cool, man. That's a great tip about the shrimp boats for sure. Anything else you want to touch on? Man, just as far as that goes, the good days we've had out around the ships, I'm king of talking about using my electronics and whatnot. I have not marked the first fish with my electronics this year. Just kind of showed up and started fishing. And when I say use my electronics, like if I pull up to a ship or somewhere and I start easing around and scanning and whatnot, if I don't see any bait, I don't have a whole lot of confidence that anything's going to happen there. That means the ship got there that morning and nothing's had time to congregate around it, But as far as being able to see a fish, like on the anchor chain or back around the screws, haven't really marked a whole lot of them. I've just fished them, but there's definitely been life around them to make me want to fish them before I do. If I pull up and it just looks naked as a jaybird, I'm gonna move along. But as long as I see life and bait right now, I'm stopping and fishing all of them. That free line has been really, really, really good this year, versus kind of fishing a little deeper and whatnot, if for whatever that's worth. But it's been fun. It's been magic this year so far. I hope it keeps up. Richard,
I was just curious, you're talking about beach fishing and having to deal with bluefish and Spanish mackerel and stuff. I mean, I'm assuming just because out here the water's crystal clear and with no rain, the salinity has got to be through the roof. That's got to be playing into what you're seeing over off the island as well, is it not?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're getting a lot of clean. The water's beautiful down there. It's almost too clear, if that's such a thing in our area. It's almost too clear to a degree. When I get targeting speckled trout and whatnot, I usually like a little bit of dinge to the water or cloud cover or something like that to kind of take their eyesight away from them a little bit. So, but yeah, this is real typical this time of year, where like I talk about, things get trashy out there on the beach. Once it warms up, sharks get in there, bluefish get in there, ladyfish, all that stuff. All that for me happened really early this year. We're kind of seeing that even back in May. It got trashy real early. It was just because it warmed up so quickly,
I'm also assuming that that's why the Mississippi Sound, especially the north side, is like on fire. You're describing scenes of fish that seem like from days gone by.
Yep, that's exactly right. Something I kind of missed on my report, when y'all were asking me kind of what I was doing, man, the flounder fishing has been through the roof too. I had a couple of days, which I can't remember. I don't think we've talked about flounder on the last time I was on here, but
I don't think so.
It seems like about 2 weeks ago, I had a run of a couple of days where I had like some bad west and southwest wind, which totally kills the Mississippi Sound and Dauphin Island area for me. and we moved on up the bay. We had a 20 fish day flounder fishing.
Wow.
Like I said, I want to say it was about 2 weeks ago, and then the next day I think we had like a 15 or 16 fish day, and another day after that where we caught 12 or 14, and then a lot of those were keeper size fish. But we were basically dock fishing, docks and jetties up the bay a little bit, and that seemed to be real consistent. Did it several days in a row, and didn't have any problem finding fish. But we did it all on plastic as well, using quarter-ounce jig heads with Fishbites or plastic with some type of scent on them and whatnot. And man, that flounder fish for me, it's a ton of fun. I love doing it, and not to mention how tasty them juggers are.
Very tasty fish. Agreed. Man, that's great to hear. It sounds like kind of gangbusters right now. You need to get out there, it sounds like.
It is, man. And every other guide I've been talking to, at least this week and last week, really more this week than last week. We kind of just came off that full moon, and like Captain Bobby said on the last one we were on, those fish were sitting back smoking a cigarette, after he and sheeing on that moon.
Yeah.
Once we kind of got behind this moon, man, it has been wide open. Just everybody seems like they're doing good. It's a great time of the year if you can deal with the deck on 103 degrees worth of heat.
I'm telling you, man.
I'll say this: 2 weeks ago, when we did the Floribama Fishing Radio, I don't think I've ever seen a year where we had so many big trout brought in. I mean, multiple 6-pounders, more 5-pounders than I could count. 4.5 pound fish was like everybody that was halfway serious trout fisherman had one of those.
Man, that's cool. Yep. It's been a banner year for them. That's for sure.
Yep.
I'll tell you a little story. I was doing a wade trip last Friday, and man, this blew my mind. I had to go help a buddy of mine, tow him in. He's having some boat problems, and I was wade fishing. So I went and dropped my customers off at a wade spot, and I went and helped my buddy, and I gave him tackle out of my wading belt, and I gave them like a spool of fluorocarbon leader, to use if they broke off or something. And well, anyway, they never gave it back to me once I got back to them, and we went to our next wade, and I was in there casting that slick lure. I was throwing that Bayou Blues color seemed to be the ticket, and anyway, I threw a backlash and snapped my line. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to tie a new leader on there. I went digging for a leader. Couldn't find leader because I'd given it to my clients,
Jeez.
And it was back in the boat. I tied that slick lure on straight to braid and caught a 23 and a 26-inch trout with braided line. Straight braided line, no leader or anything. So for everybody who thinks you got to have all this light fluorocarbon line, this is how the other, I couldn't believe it, man. It was just unbelievable. And then caught 2 flounders right after that, It was kind of a funny story, because it just goes against everything you think, when you tie your braided line straight to your lure. I think it's more the action and the presentation than it is the trying to hide that leader sometimes. I thought that was funny.
That's very funny. And sometimes they can definitely be more particular than others, and sometimes they're just hungry.
No, yeah. That's kind of what I was getting at when we're kind of going through this whole thing. They're hungry right now for sure.
That's awesome, man.
Definitely fired up, man. Well, I appreciate y'all having me on here, man. I hope we covered all the bases.
I think we did, man. I think we'll give our listeners a good general direction for this weekend if they want to get out. We always appreciate you sharing your knowledge with our listeners. If folks want to get up with you and book a trip, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
At coldbloodedfishing.com. All my contact info is on there. Just give me a shout. Telephone number's on there. Give me a shout. Give me a text. Shoot me an email. However you choose to get up with me, man. And we appreciate it.
Awesome, buddy. Thanks for the report, man. Be safe out there. Keep whacking them.
10-4.
All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. That was a great inshore report from Captain Richard Rutland with Cold-Blooded Fishing. Y'all take a quick minute and check out a few of this week's great sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks are proud to be your metal roofing headquarters for over 40 years. Save time and money by buying from the most reliable manufacturer on the Gulf Coast. Buy it today, pick it up today. They offer 20 Sherwin-Williams colors to choose from and have a 40-year warranty. Baker Metal and Dixie Supply, 2 names, same great service. With the addition of their new store in Cantonment, Florida, they now have 8 locations to serve you. Dixie Supply and Baker Metalworks, your metal roofing headquarters. And also brought to you by MB Ranch King. MB Ranch King hunting blinds and feeders are built to last, right here in the USA. With durability and convenience in mind, MB Ranch King's maintenance-free blinds are constructed with high-grade steel and come in a variety of sizes to meet any hunter's needs. They offer high-quality, easy-to-use corn and protein feeders that can be filled with both feet on the ground. Call Kevin today for more info or a quote at 205-807-2937. MB Ranch King, built in the pursuit of perfection. All right, Angelo, we got to do what did you learn before we get out of here today, man? Some good stuff. We had a lot of good tips and reports from our listeners. What'd you pick up this week?
I mean, I don't want to work for the rest of the week. I mean, me, you were just talking. I don't think either one of us are working on Friday, although my wife and the people that work with me don't know that.
That's right. Yeah. I haven't told mine either yet, but I'm definitely fishing Friday.
I can't do it. You said it's going to be like 3 knots or less. I can't not fish.
I think it's going to be slick looking at the weather. It's going to be less than 1 foot and like 3 knots.
Oh, I mean, dude,
gotta go.
I'm like, my heart's like pitter pattering over here.
I know.
But one thing that stuck out to me, both Richard and Chris were both beach fishing, and I was on the beach this Sunday. The grass is gone. I mean, I'm not sure like when that happened, but it's not here right now.
Yeah, it's not an issue to combat, luckily.
Yeah. And I would tell you the one thing that I feel like at least every one of these that I host, because I don't always get a chance to listen to them, but I'd say every other show that I listen to, I learned something. And I'm like somebody that's fished my entire life, basically.
Oh, yeah.
And like when you get around this many people that are really good fishermen and that are sharing, some of it is like stuff that you learned and forgot. Some of it's stuff you never heard of or thought of.
Yep.
Chris Vecsey, and like I'm still figuring out the tarpon thing. The thing about reeling your swim bait with your rod pointed straight and not jigging it at all, dude, that's a game changer for me.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense as far as keeping those tarpon buttoned up too. I would think if you're, reeling and or jigging, you're gonna get a lot more slack in your line. It's gonna decrease your, buttoning up that fish on the hook set.
Yeah,
I would think that
those fish aren't like moving a lot to go chase a bait. So being positioned and pointing the rod at your bait while you're reeling. I mean, dude, I'm like, that's what I'm going to go do Friday, and I feel like I'm a little bit better prepared because of it.
Yep.
What about you?
I picked up a ton this week. I definitely liked Chris's tarpon talk. I'm still learning that as well. Every time we talk about it, I learn something about tarpon for sure. What I picked up from Vecsey's report, and I've never really even thought about it this way, but he's right. As far as the tarpon running the beach, I mean, you've kind of got them in a little alley here from Cape San Blas to Fort Morgan, and then they disperse because he was talking about the coastline being busted up after that. That makes a lot of sense.
Dude, I mean, it's like these 2 fishing reports, the Northwest Florida one and the Alabama saltwater fishing report, I mean, like really covering the stretch of migration of tarpon that we get here. I mean, they go into Mobile Bay and Mississippi Sound, but there's something really cool about seeing the fish out on the front beach here.
Yep, definitely agree, especially as clear as the water is right now. And like I say, they're running that beach right now. That definitely makes sense. Also picked up Richard talking about, I'm still learning this speckled trout, especially the wade fishing stuff. By the way, if you Google wade fishing tips, you find a great article from Richard Rutland there in greatdaysoutdoors.com. It's a really, really good resource for wade fishing. I picked up some reading the Gulf Beach tips from him today. I think that's very smart. Pick a day whenever it's super calm, not having to, like he probably does it after he drops off clients or has a slack day or something like that. But it definitely makes sense to run that beach, looking for those reliefs, looking for those holes up next to the beach, and mark that spot on your GPS and know that that's where you're going to go.
Man, he is just a professional. Like no matter what you're doing for a living, like Richard is like one of those people that goes extra mile. He's going to do the scouting. He's going to figure out where the fish are. It's the kind of guy that you want to fish with. Yep. And another thing that I just picked up from Richard today, I mean, like, I feel like as he ages, he is like a little mini Bobby Abriscato. Like his mannerisms have leaned that direction.
Yep. Yeah, they're a good team, man. I like fishing with both of those guys. Incredible amount of knowledge. I mean, you're talking about picking up bits and pieces from these guys. That's because they fish 200 days a year. they can't, I mean, it's things they say aren't even tips, and they're like, you know, it's aha moments for us sometimes.
Yeah, that is amazing.
All right, guys, that wraps up another great segment. Let's take a quick break, check out a few of this week's sponsors. That segment was brought to you by Test Calibration. If your diesel has low power or is consuming excessive amounts of fuel, these are common signs that your turbocharger may need to be rebuilt. Don't waste your money online with the cheapest options where you get no support after the sale. Test Calibration has been selling and servicing diesel, turbochargers, and fuel injection systems since 1976. No matter if you're running a diesel in your boat, tractor, or truck, Test Calibration can help you. Contact them at 800-822-0057 or visit them online at testcalibrationdieselandturbo.com. And also brought to you by National Land Realty.
If you're in the market to sell your land, check out the fastest growing, most innovative land brokerage in the country. With the largest online presence in the industry, the bottom line is when you market your land through National Land Realty, the right buyers will know your land is for sale. Contact your Emerald Coast National Land agent. That's me, Joe Baya, at jbaya@nationalland.com, or call me at 850-296-7098.
Enjoyed it, man. Thanks for co-hosting with me today. Just gonna wrap it up.
Always enjoy it, and I appreciate you guys. I think we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of when I first started doing this with you guys, and it just kind of went by quick.
It did go by really quick, man. Looking forward to another year, buddy. Looking forward to another year of great reports.
Cool.
Until next time, brother. You too, man. Enjoyed it. All right, folks, that wraps up another great Alabama saltwater fishing report. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to text the word fishing to 314-665-1767 to get that 10% off AFCO promo code, and also to be added to our email list. And we'll send you the new show each week. You guys be safe out there. This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report has been brought to you by AFTCO. Family-owned and operated AFTCO fishing apparel and tackle are designed to handle the harshest elements and help you weather any day on the water. From cold tournament mornings to the humid summers of Florida, their products are built to handle the extreme. They are proud to hear customer stories about the 20-plus years of life cycle of their AFTCO products. Visit aftco.com, that's AFTCO.com, for on-the-water performance gear. And also brought to you by Admiral Shellfish. Admiral oysters are available by the dozen at Bon Secours Fisheries, Inc. in Bon Secours, Alabama. From a simple, nutrient-dense appetizer at home or a shucking party with friends, Admiral oysters will steal the show. Call 251-949-7411 for pricing and availability. Follow their adventures on Instagram at Admiral Shellfish Co. And also, Photonis Defense, simply the best in-class night vision systems ever built. Contact them at photonisdefense.com to learn more. Photonis Defense, masters of darkness.
This week's Alabama Saltwater Fishing Report brought to you by me, Angelo DePaola, The Coastal Connection. Find us online at thecoastalconnection.com.
And also brought to you by United Bank. United Bank supports our farmers with financial products and services designed specifically for agribusiness. All loans subject to credit approval, equal housing opportunity lender, member FDIC. And also Ricciardone Family Dentistry. You're going to need a good dentist, so you may as well make an appointment with fellow angler Josh Ricciardone. Call today to book an appointment at 251-342-6672. And also brought to you by CCA Alabama. Catch a tagged redfish this summer and win a 2022 Nautic Star 215 bay boat in the inaugural CCA Alabama Star Tournament. Sign up now at joincca.org/star tournament. Also brought to you by Foster Contracting, Fortified Roofing Pros. Did you know you could save up to 40% on your homeowner's insurance with a fortified roof? Learn more at fortifiedroofingpros.com or call them at 251-973-9999. And also brought to you by L&M Marine. L&M Marine has something for everyone, from small hunting boats, pontoons, as well as bigger bay hybrid boats for the hardcore angler. Go visit them at 34600 Highway 59 in Stapleton, Alabama, or call 251-937-1380. And also brought to you by the Alabama Marine Resources Division. The Alabama Marine Resources Division reminds all recreational anglers that gray triggerfish, greater amberjack, or red snapper must be reported through Snapper Check prior to landing the fish in Alabama. For more information about Snapper Check, please visit outdooralabama.com.